Discipline is not a gift. It is not something you are born with, and it certainly isn't something that shows up when you feel like it. Discipline is forged in the moments when you don't want to do the work, when comfort looks more appealing, and when excuses come rushing in like waves. Most people wait for motivation. They wait until they feel like it. But waiting for the right mood is exactly why most people fail. The truth is simple. You don't need motivation to be disciplined, you need force. You need to deliberately push yourself beyond what is easy and comfortable until discipline becomes second nature. This book is not about waiting for inspiration. It's about creating unshakable self-discipline, even when you don't want to move forward. In the chapters ahead, we will explore the psychology, the practical strategies, and the mindset shifts that will help you build the kind of discipline that successful people rely on. By the end, you won't just understand discipline, you'll know how to force yourself into it until it becomes your natural state of being. Chapter 1. The Truth About Discipline. Why Force Matters More Than Motivation. When most people think about success, they think about motivation. They imagine that highly successful people are constantly fired up, constantly inspired, and always ready to act. They think discipline comes naturally to them, as though they're wired differently. But that's not the truth. Motivation is a feeling, and feelings are unreliable. One day, you feel like working out, and the next day you don't. One day, you're excited about your goals, and the next day, you just want to stay in bed. If your entire life is built around waiting for motivation, you'll always be at the mercy of your emotions. You'll only take action when it feels good, and that is a recipe for mediocrity. Here's the real truth. People who achieve extraordinary levels of discipline don't rely on motivation. They rely on force. They force themselves to get up, even when they don't want to. They force themselves to do the work, even when it feels uncomfortable. They force themselves to follow through, even when excuses are screaming in their heads. Discipline is not about wanting. It's about doing. And doing requires force. Motivation versus force. Imagine this. You set an alarm to wake up at 5 a.m. The night before, you're excited about waking up early. You're motivated. But when the alarm rings, what happens? Your body wants comfort. Your brain tells you, just 5 more minutes. Motivation is gone. What gets you out of bed at that moment isn't motivation. It's force. You literally force yourself to throw the blanket off, to swing your legs over the bed, to stand up, even when your entire body resists. That moment, when you act despite resistance, is where discipline is born. Not when you feel inspired. Not when things are easy. But when you force yourself to act against the pull of comfort. Think about it. Everything great you've ever achieved in your life required force at some point. Studying when you didn't want to. Exercising when you were tired. Working late when you could have been relaxing. Each time, it wasn't motivation that carried you through. It was the decision to force yourself forward. The myth of natural discipline. Some people like to say, "I'm just not disciplined. It's not my personality." That's a myth. Nobody is born disciplined. Babies don't come into the world with self-control. Children don't naturally choose homework over play. Discipline is learned, and it's built through repeated acts of forcing yourself to do what is difficult until it becomes a habit. The difference between someone who seems naturally disciplined and someone who struggles isn't genetics, it's practice. They've built the muscle of discipline by repeatedly forcing themselves to do what's hard. Just like lifting weights makes you stronger, forcing yourself makes your discipline stronger. Why force creates freedom. Here's the paradox. Forcing yourself feels hard in the moment, but it creates freedom in the long run. Think of 2 people. The first avoids discipline. He eats whatever he wants, skips workouts, procrastinates on his goals, and chooses comfort daily. In the short term, it feels easy. But in the long run, he pays the price. Poor health, limited opportunities, stress, regret. The second person forces themselves to do the hard things: exercising, eating healthy, working diligently, managing their time. In the short term, it feels tough. But in the long run, they enjoy freedom, energy, confidence, success, and options. That's the trade-off. You can either pay now through force and discipline, or you pay later through regret and limitation. Discipline is the down payment on freedom. Practical steps: forcing yourself in daily life. Let's get practical. How do you actually begin to force yourself to be disciplined? Step 1. Start with small acts of force. Don't try to overhaul your entire life in one day. Start small. When your alarm goes off, force yourself to get up immediately instead of snoozing. When you're tempted to check your phone during work, force yourself to put it away. Each small act strengthens your discipline muscle. Step 2. Create non-negotiables. Successful people don't negotiate with themselves. They don't debate whether or not to do the work. They decide once and then commit. Pick 1 or 2 daily habits that are non-negotiable, no matter how you feel. For example, I will exercise for 20 minutes every day. Or, I will write 1 page every morning. Step 3. Use the 5-second rule. When you feel resistance, count backward. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and move. Stand up, start walking, open the book, send the email. The longer you wait, the louder your excuses become. Forcing yourself within that 5-second window is critical. Step 4. Embrace discomfort. Stop expecting discipline to feel good. It won't. It will feel uncomfortable, annoying, even painful at times. Accept it. The more you embrace discomfort, the easier it becomes to force yourself into action. Step 5. Remind yourself of the future cost. When you feel like skipping the hard thing, ask, what will this cost me in the long run? Skipping a workout may feel good now, but what does it cost your health? Procrastinating may feel easy now, but what does it cost your goals? Force yourself by focusing on the price of inaction. Real-life example. Think about athletes. Do you think they feel motivated every single day to train? Of course not. Many days, they don't feel like getting up early, pushing through pain, or practicing for hours. But they don't let feelings decide. They force themselves to show up. And that's why they succeed. Now compare that to someone who only trains when they feel like it. They'll never be consistent, and inconsistency destroys results. The difference is not talent, it's the willingness to force action. A new way of thinking. From this point forward, I want you to replace the word discipline with force. Instead of saying, I need to be disciplined, say, I need to force myself. Because that's what discipline truly is, a repeated act of forcing action until it becomes automatic. Once you accept that force is the gateway, everything changes. You stop waiting for inspiration. You stop waiting for the perfect time. You stop waiting until you feel like it. You simply force yourself, and that single decision will put you ahead of 90% of people who are still waiting for motivation. Closing thoughts for Chapter 1. Discipline is not about waiting until you feel ready. It's about forcing yourself to move when you don't feel like it. That's the secret of successful people. They act despite resistance. So as you move into this book, I want you to keep one phrase in your mind: I don't wait for motivation. I force discipline. Say it to yourself when you're tired, when you're tempted to quit, when comfort calls your name. Because the truth about discipline is simple. Force creates freedom. Chapter 2. The Science of Self-Control. How your brain works against you. If discipline were easy, everyone would already have it. But there's a reason why most people struggle. It's not just laziness. It's not just a lack of ambition. The truth is, your own brain is wired to work against discipline. Self-control is not natural for the human mind. Our brains are designed for survival, not long-term growth. Thousands of years ago, survival meant eating when food was available, conserving energy, and avoiding danger. Your ancestors didn't need to wake up at 5 a.m. for a workout or write a business plan. They needed to stay alive. So your brain evolved to prioritize comfort, safety, and immediate rewards. That wiring is still inside you today. And if you don't understand how your brain works, you'll constantly feel like you're fighting yourself. But once you do understand it, you can outsmart it. You can learn how to override those impulses and take back control. The two brains, primitive versus rational. Scientists often describe the brain as having two systems. The first is your primitive brain, sometimes called the limbic system. This part is responsible for emotions, instincts, and urges. It wants comfort, pleasure, and safety right now. It doesn't care about your long-term goals. The second is your rational brain, known as the prefrontal cortex. This is the part of your brain that plans, makes decisions, and thinks about the future. It's the voice that tells you, I should eat healthy. I should study. I should save money. Here's the problem. The primitive brain is louder, stronger, and faster than the rational brain. When the alarm rings at 5 a.m., the primitive brain screams, stay in bed, it's warm here. And often, it wins. Understanding this conflict is the first step to mastering self-control. Discipline is essentially learning how to strengthen the rational brain so it overrides the primitive one. The dopamine trap. One of the biggest challenges you face is dopamine. Dopamine is the brain's reward chemical. It's released whenever you experience something pleasurable. Eating junk food, scrolling social media, watching TV, or even getting likes online. Dopamine is not bad. It helps you feel motivated and happy. But the modern world is full of dopamine traps. Fast food, endless entertainment, constant notifications. They hijack your brain. They give you quick hits of pleasure without effort. Why is this dangerous? Because your brain starts craving these quick rewards over meaningful discipline. Why read a difficult book when scrolling Instagram gives instant dopamine? Why go for a run when a video game offers instant fun? The primitive brain always chooses the path of least resistance. This is why forcing yourself to be disciplined feels so hard. You're not just fighting laziness, you're fighting a brain chemistry designed to chase easy rewards. Willpower is like a muscle. Here's another important truth. Willpower is limited. Think of it like a battery. Each time you resist temptation, you use some of that battery. By the end of the day, your willpower is drained, and that's when you're most likely to give in. Ever notice how you can eat healthy in the morning, but by night you're craving junk food? Or how you can focus at work, but later you collapse in front of the TV? That's willpower depletion. The mistake most people make is relying only on willpower for discipline. But just like a muscle, willpower gets tired. You can train it to get stronger, yes, but you also need to use strategies that don't drain it unnecessarily. This is why systems, routines, and environment matter more than pure willpower. If you rely only on resisting temptation, you'll eventually fail. But if you design your life to reduce temptations, your discipline becomes much easier. The prefrontal cortex, your discipline headquarters. Now, here's the good news. The rational brain, your prefrontal cortex, can be trained. Studies show that every time you force yourself to resist temptation, you strengthen this part of your brain. It's like lifting weights for your self-control muscle. For example, when you resist the urge to check your phone during work, your prefrontal cortex gets stronger. When you choose to work out instead of skipping, your discipline muscle grows. Over time, forcing yourself becomes easier because your rational brain is gaining power over the primitive brain. The key is consistency. Small daily acts of self-control create massive changes in your brain wiring. Practical strategies to outsmart your brain. Now that you know how your brain works, let's get practical. Here are strategies to tilt the balance in favor of discipline. 1. Remove temptations before they appear. Don't keep junk food in your house if you're trying to eat healthy. Don't leave your phone on your desk if you're trying to work. The less temptation your primitive brain sees, the less willpower you waste. 2. Use friction to your advantage. Make bad habits harder and good habits easier. For example, put your workout clothes next to your bed at night so it's easy to exercise in the morning. Or log out of social media so you have to type in your password every time. It creates friction that slows down impulsive behavior. 3. Automate good decisions. Set up automatic transfers to your savings account so you don't have to rely on willpower to save money. Schedule your workouts on your calendar so they're non-negotiable appointments. The less you leave to choice, the stronger your discipline. 4. Train with small acts of discipline. Don't start with huge battles. Start with tiny wins. For example, make your bed every morning. Sit without checking your phone for 5 minutes. Finish one small task without distraction. Each small win strengthens your discipline muscle. 5. Delay gratification. Practice waiting before giving in to urges. If you want to eat a snack, wait 10 minutes. If you want to check your phone, wait 5 minutes. This teaches your brain that you are in control, not your impulses. Real-life example. Think about someone who's trying to quit smoking. Their primitive brain craves nicotine. Their rational brain knows it's harmful. At first, it feels like an impossible battle. But each time they resist, even for a few minutes, their rational brain strengthens. Over weeks and months, resisting gets easier because their brain is literally rewiring. The same principle applies to every area of your life. Each act of discipline, no matter how small, is training your brain to favor long-term control over short-term comfort. The battle inside you. Here's the reality. Every day, you are in a battle with yourself. One side wants comfort, pleasure, and ease. The other side wants growth, progress, and success. The question is, which side will you feed? If you give in to every impulse, your primitive brain wins, and your discipline weakens. But if you force yourself to choose the harder path, your rational brain wins, and your discipline grows. This is not about perfection. You will slip sometimes. Everyone does. But each time you choose discipline, you tip the scale in your favor. Closing thoughts for Chapter 2. Your brain is not your enemy, but it is wired to resist discipline. It craves comfort and immediate pleasure, while your goals require discomfort and delayed rewards. The good news is this: self-control is a skill. The more you practice, the stronger it becomes. By understanding how your brain works, you can stop blaming yourself for struggling and start using strategies to win the battle. Chapter 3. Building the habit of forcing yourself. At this point, you understand two important truths. First, discipline is not about waiting for motivation, it's about forcing yourself. Second, your brain is wired to resist discipline and chase comfort. That means if you want to build a life of self-control, you have to turn forcing yourself into a habit. Because here's the reality. You can force yourself once or twice, but if it doesn't become consistent, it won't last. Long-term discipline is built on repetition. It's not about a single act of willpower. It's about creating a lifestyle where forcing yourself becomes automatic. In this chapter, we're going to break down exactly how to do that. The power of habit. Every action you take wires your brain. When you repeat a behavior enough times, it becomes a habit. Habits are powerful because they no longer require much thought or energy. You just do them. Think about brushing your teeth. You don't have to force yourself to brush your teeth every morning. It's automatic. Imagine if discipline felt the same way: automatic, natural, effortless. That's the goal, to turn the act of forcing yourself into such a regular practice that it becomes second nature. But here's the key: you don't build habits by waiting for the perfect conditions. You build them by repetition, by starting small, and by forcing consistency. Why small wins matter. Most people fail at discipline because they start too big. They want to go from 0 to 100 overnight. They commit to working out for 2 hours every day, or writing an entire book in 1 month, or waking up at 4 a.m. instantly. And for a few days, they succeed. But then resistance grows stronger, motivation fades, and they quit. Why? Because they tried to build a skyscraper without laying the foundation. The smarter path is to start small. Tiny wins. Small acts of force repeated daily. This does 2 things. It makes the habit manageable, so you don't burn out. It builds confidence. Each small win sends a message to your brain. I am disciplined. I can force myself. That identity shift is crucial. The habit loop. To build the habit of forcing yourself, you need to understand the habit loop. Every habit has 3 parts. Cue, the trigger that tells your brain to act. Routine, the action itself. Reward, the benefit your brain receives. For example, let's say your alarm rings in the morning. Cue. You get out of bed immediately. Routine. You feel a sense of accomplishment and control. Reward. The more you repeat this loop, the stronger the habit becomes. Eventually, your brain associates the cue with the routine and expects the reward. That's when discipline starts to feel automatic. Practical steps to build the habit of forcing yourself. Let's break this down into actionable steps. 1. Pick one area to start. Don't try to change your entire life at once. Choose one area where you'll practice forcing yourself. Maybe it's waking up without snoozing. Maybe it's exercising daily. Maybe it's writing for 20 minutes. Focus on 1. 2. Make it small and clear. Your first habit should be so small that it feels almost too easy. For example, instead of committing to running 5 miles, commit to putting on your running shoes and walking for 10 minutes. Instead of writing 1,000 words a day, commit to writing for 5 minutes. The goal is not intensity, it's consistency. 3. Use a clear cue. Tie your new habit to something specific. For example, when my alarm rings, I will get out of bed immediately. Or, after brushing my teeth, I will do 10 push-ups. The clearer the cue, the stronger the habit. 4. Reinforce the reward. Celebrate small wins. After you force yourself to act, acknowledge it. Tell yourself, I kept my promise. This positive reinforcement strengthens the habit loop. 5. Track your progress. Keep a habit tracker. Mark a calendar. Check off each day you succeed. The visual progress will motivate you to keep going, even when resistance kicks in. 6. Scale gradually. Once the habit feels automatic, increase the difficulty. Walk becomes a jog. 5 minutes of writing becomes 15. 10 push-ups become 20. Progress slowly, but keep the consistency unbreakable. The role of identity. Here's a powerful truth. Discipline sticks when it becomes part of your identity. If you see yourself as someone who tries to be disciplined, you'll struggle. But if you see yourself as a disciplined person, you act accordingly. Identity is built by repeated action. Every time you force yourself to act, you cast a vote for the identity of a disciplined person. The more votes you cast, the stronger that identity becomes. Ask yourself, what would a disciplined person do right now? And then act that way. The more you practice this, the more your self-image shifts. Soon, forcing yourself won't feel like pretending. It will feel like who you are. Building momentum. One of the most powerful forces in habit building is momentum. Think of a snowball rolling down a hill. At first, it's small and hard to push. But as it rolls, it gathers more snow, gets bigger, and moves faster with less effort. Discipline works the same way. At first, forcing yourself is hard. You'll feel resistance. But once you start and keep going, the momentum carries you forward. That's why the first step is always the hardest, but it's also the most important. To build momentum, commit to a streak. Tell yourself, I will not miss 2 days in a row. Even if you slip once, don't let the streak break twice. This keeps the snowball rolling. Real-life example. Think about someone who wants to become a writer. They could try to force themselves to write 2,000 words every day, but that's overwhelming. Instead, they commit to writing 1 page a day. Just 1 page. It feels small, but it's consistent. After a month, they've written 30 pages. After a year, over 350 pages. Enough for a book. The act of forcing themselves daily, even in small doses, created momentum, confidence, and eventually identity. That's how habits turn into results. Common mistakes to avoid. When building the habit of forcing yourself, watch out for these traps. Going too big too soon. Don't start with unrealistic goals. Start small and scale. Waiting for motivation. Remember, discipline comes first, motivation follows. Perfectionism, you will slip. Everyone does. The key is not perfection, but persistence. Neglecting environment. If your environment is full of temptations, your willpower will burn out fast. Set up your space for success. Closing thoughts for Chapter 3. Forcing yourself once is powerful. Forcing yourself consistently is life-changing. That's how discipline becomes a habit, through small, repeated acts that reshape your identity and build momentum. Remember this, habits are not built by massive effort one time, but by steady effort over time. Start small, stay consistent, and let your discipline grow naturally. In the beginning, it will feel like work. But with repetition, it will feel automatic. And when forcing yourself becomes a habit, you'll no longer need to wonder whether you'll act. You simply will. That's the true foundation of unstoppable discipline. Chapter 4. Pain Now, Freedom Later. Embracing discomfort as a discipline tool. If there's one truth about discipline that most people run from, it's this: discipline is uncomfortable. It's inconvenient. It's painful at times. And that's exactly why so many people avoid it. But here's the paradox. You can't avoid pain. You either choose the pain of discipline now, or you face the pain of regret later. One leads to growth and freedom. The other leads to limitation and frustration. In this chapter, we're going to talk about why embracing discomfort is one of the most powerful tools for building discipline, and how you can learn to welcome it instead of running from it. The reality of discomfort. From the moment you wake up, your brain is negotiating with you. Stay in bed a little longer. Skip the gym. Eat something easy. Put off that project. All of these temptations pull you toward comfort. And let's be honest, comfort feels good, temporarily. The extra sleep, the skipped workout, the fast food, the procrastination, it all feels easier in the moment. But over time, comfort becomes a trap. Comfort turns into stagnation. Discipline, on the other hand, requires discomfort. Waking up early, pushing through a workout, focusing on difficult work, resisting temptations, all of it demands that you face discomfort directly. And most people don't want to. But here's the truth. Growth lives on the other side of discomfort. If you want a strong body, a focused mind, or a successful career, you have to get used to choosing pain now for freedom later. The pain of discipline versus the pain of regret. There are two kinds of pain in life: the pain of discipline and the pain of regret. The pain of discipline is temporary. It's the soreness after a workout, the effort of studying when you'd rather relax, the challenge of saying no to distractions. It's uncomfortable, but it passes. And it leaves behind strength, confidence, and results. The pain of regret, on the other hand, is permanent. It's looking back and realizing you wasted years. It's wishing you had started earlier. It's feeling stuck because you chose comfort over growth. That pain lingers far longer than the temporary sting of discipline. So the choice is simple: pain now or pain later. Discipline is hard, yes, but regret is harder. Why discomfort builds discipline? There's a reason discomfort is so powerful. It trains your brain to tolerate resistance. Every time you do something uncomfortable, you prove to yourself that you can act despite difficulty. You expand your comfort zone. Think of it like lifting weights. When you lift something heavy, your muscles tear slightly, then repair stronger. Discomfort works the same way for discipline. Each time you embrace it, your self-control grows stronger. The more you avoid discomfort, the weaker your discipline becomes. The more you face it, the stronger you get. Practical ways to embrace discomfort. Let's make this actionable. How do you train yourself to embrace discomfort instead of avoiding it? 1. Start with small discomforts. You don't need to run a marathon tomorrow. Begin with small acts of discomfort. Take a cold shower. Leave your phone in another room while you work. Wake up 15 minutes earlier. These small challenges build your tolerance for bigger ones. 2. Reframe the pain. Instead of seeing discomfort as punishment, see it as progress. When your muscles burn during a workout, tell yourself, this is strength being built. When you feel mental resistance, remind yourself, this is discipline being forged. The way you label discomfort changes your experience of it. 3. Practice doing things you don't want to do. Each day, deliberately do one thing you don't want to do, whether it's cleaning, making a difficult call, or finishing a boring task. This conditions you to act without waiting for comfort. 4. Focus on the reward, not the resistance. Shift your attention from the discomfort of the moment to the freedom it will create later. Don't dwell on the pain of the workout. Think about the energy and confidence you'll feel afterward. Don't focus on the effort of saving money. Think about the freedom of financial security. 5. Use time limits. When something feels unbearable, give yourself a short time frame. Tell yourself, I'll push through for just 5 minutes. Often, once you start, the discomfort fades, and you realize you can handle more than you thought. Real-life example. Consider Navy SEALs. Their training is some of the most brutal in the world. Cold water, exhaustion, endless physical drills. It's designed to break people. Why? Because in combat, comfort doesn't exist. If a soldier can't function under discomfort, they can't function at all. The lesson here is not that you need to become a Navy SEAL. It's that the people who succeed at the highest levels are those who have trained themselves to thrive in discomfort. They don't run from it, they embrace it. Now, think about your own life. You may not be preparing for combat, but you are preparing for challenges. Work deadlines, financial struggles, personal goals. If you've trained yourself to accept discomfort, you'll push through. If you haven't, you'll quit. The comfort zone trap. Most people live in what's called the comfort zone. It's safe, familiar, and easy. But nothing grows there. The comfort zone keeps you exactly where you are. To grow, you must step into the discomfort zone. That's where learning happens. That's where discipline develops. And the more time you spend in the discomfort zone, the more your comfort zone expands. Over time, what used to feel uncomfortable becomes normal. Waking up early, exercising, working hard, these things stop feeling like pain and start feeling like routine. That's how discipline evolves. A daily practice. Here's a simple daily practice to build the habit of embracing discomfort. Morning. Start your day with a small act of discomfort. Maybe it's a cold shower, meditation, or a workout. This sets the tone that you choose challenge over comfort. Midday. Do one task you've been avoiding. This trains you to act without delay. Evening. Reflect on your discomfort wins. Ask yourself, Where did I choose pain now for freedom later? This builds awareness and pride in your discipline. Do this daily, and you'll begin to see discomfort not as something to avoid, but as something to seek. Closing thoughts for Chapter 4. Discipline and discomfort are inseparable. If you want discipline, you must embrace discomfort. There's no shortcut, no easy path. But here's the good news. The pain of discipline is temporary, and it leads to freedom. Freedom in your health. Freedom in your finances. Freedom in your time. Freedom in your choices. The pain of regret, however, lasts forever, and it always costs more. So, the next time you face discomfort, remind yourself, this is the price of freedom. Pain now, freedom later. That's the bargain of discipline, and it's always worth it. Chapter 5. The Power of Systems over Willpower. Up until now, we've talked a lot about forcing yourself, about resisting temptation, and about embracing discomfort. But there's a problem with relying only on willpower. It runs out. Willpower is like a battery. Every time you resist the urge to eat junk food, every time you fight the temptation to check your phone, every time you push yourself to do what you don't want to do, you drain that battery. By the end of the day, you've got little energy left. And that's why so many people give in at night, binge on snacks, skip their routines, or waste hours online. The truth is, discipline built only on willpower is fragile. If you want long-lasting discipline, you need something stronger. That something is systems. In this chapter, we'll explore why systems matter more than willpower, how to design them, and how they can make discipline almost automatic. Why willpower isn't enough. Imagine you're on a diet. You've stocked your kitchen with cookies, chips, and ice cream. Every time you walk into the kitchen, you have to resist the urge to eat them. Maybe you succeed once, twice, 3 times. But eventually, your willpower battery drains, and you give in. Now imagine instead that you simply don't buy junk food. It's not in your house. You don't have to fight temptation every time you open the fridge. The system, the environment you created, makes the disciplined choice automatic. That's the power of systems. They remove the need for constant decision-making and willpower battles. What are systems? A system is simply a structure or process that makes discipline easier and failure harder. It's the framework that supports your habits, so you don't have to rely on raw willpower every single time. Think about it. A calendar is a system for time. A budget is a system for money. A workout plan is a system for fitness. Without systems, you're relying on memory, motivation, and energy, and those are all unreliable. With systems, you design your environment and routines so that discipline becomes the default option. Systems versus goals. Here's a distinction most people miss. Goals are what you want, systems are how you get there. For example, a goal is, I want to lose 20 pounds. A system is, I will prepare healthy meals every Sunday and exercise at 7 a.m. 3 times a week. The problem with goals is they depend on motivation. The power of systems is they depend on structure. James Clear, author of Atomic Habits, says it best, you do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. Why systems create automatic discipline? Systems remove friction. They take decision-making out of the moment, which means you don't need to argue with yourself every time. Let's look at an example. If your system is to lay out your workout clothes the night before, you've already decided to exercise. In the morning, you don't debate, you just put them on and move. If your system is to use website blockers during work hours, you don't fight the temptation of distraction. It's simply not available. If your system is to keep your savings on automatic transfer, you don't wrestle with the decision to save, you save without thinking. In each case, the system protects you from the weakness of willpower. Building strong systems. So how do you actually build systems that support discipline? Here are practical steps. 1. Identify your weak points. Where do you usually fail? Is it waking up on time? Sticking to your diet? Avoiding procrastination? Start there. 2. Design your environment. Your environment shapes your behavior more than you realize. If you want to eat healthy, stock your kitchen with nutritious foods and remove junk. If you want to study, create a clean desk with no distractions. Make the right choice easy and the wrong choice hard. 3. Automate good decisions. Use automation wherever possible. Set recurring reminders. Use automatic payments for bills and savings. Set timers to turn off apps or devices. Take human error out of the equation. 4. Create routines and rituals. Discipline becomes easier when you follow routines. Wake up at the same time. Exercise at the same time. Start your work with the same ritual. The brain loves patterns. Use them to your advantage. 5. Build accountability. Involve others in your systems. Share your goals with a friend, hire a coach, or join a group. When others are watching, you're more likely to stay consistent. 6. Reduce decisions. Every decision you make drains willpower. That's why successful people often simplify their lives, eating similar meals, wearing similar clothes, sticking to consistent routines. The fewer decisions, the stronger your discipline. Real-life examples of systems. Fitness. Instead of deciding daily whether to work out, schedule workouts on your calendar as fixed appointments. Keep your gym bag ready. That's a system. Work. Instead of fighting distractions, use software that blocks social media during work hours. That's a system. Finances. Instead of hoping you'll save money, set up automatic transfers the moment your paycheck arrives. That's a system. Health. Instead of resisting late-night snacks, don't keep them in the house. That's a system. Notice the pattern. In each case, the system eliminates the need for constant willpower. Systems protect you when you're weak. Here's the truth. No one is disciplined all the time. Everyone has days when they feel tired, unmotivated, or distracted. The difference between those who succeed and those who fail is that successful people rely on systems when their willpower is weak. On a bad day, your system still carries you forward. If you've automated your savings, the money still gets saved. If you've scheduled your workout, you still show up. If you've removed temptations from your house, you don't give in. Systems act like guardrails. They keep you on track even when your discipline battery is low. Avoiding system overload. One warning: don't overcomplicate your systems. Some people create so many routines, apps, and rules that they become overwhelmed. A good system should make your life simpler, not more stressful. Start with 1 or 2 key systems in the areas where you struggle most. Build them gradually. Once they feel natural, add more. Closing thoughts for Chapter 5. Willpower is important, but it's not enough. If you rely on sheer force of will, you'll burn out. But if you build strong systems, you'll make discipline automatic. Remember, discipline isn't about being perfect every day. It's about designing your environment, routines, and structures so that the right choice becomes the easy choice. So stop depending only on willpower. Build systems. Automate success. Remove temptation. And let the structure of your life do the heavy lifting. Because in the long run, it's not the strongest willpower that wins, it's the smartest systems. Chapter 6. Destroying excuses before they destroy you. Let's face it, excuses are the #1 killer of discipline. They creep into your mind with convincing whispers: "I'll do it tomorrow. I don't have time. I'm too tired. I'm not ready yet. I deserve a break." Excuses feel comfortable. They sound logical. They even sound like self-care. But here's the truth. Excuses are lies your brain tells you to protect you from effort, discomfort, or fear. And if you don't learn to destroy them, they will destroy your dreams. In this chapter, we're going to dig deep into how excuses work, why they feel so convincing, and most importantly, how to crush them before they crush you. The anatomy of an excuse. At its core, an excuse is simply a justification for not doing what you know you should do. It's a story your mind invents so you feel less guilty about avoiding responsibility. Excuses usually fall into three categories. Time excuses, I don't have enough time. Energy excuses, I'm too tired. I don't feel like it. Ability excuses, I'm not ready. I don't know how. I might fail. Do these sound familiar? Of course they do, because everyone uses them. They're universal. But just because everyone uses excuses doesn't mean you should let them rule your life. Why excuses feel so convincing? Excuses are dangerous because they disguise themselves as reasonable. Think about it. If you worked a long day, I'm too tired to work out sounds sensible. If your schedule is full, I don't have time to read feels true. If you've never started a business before, I don't know how sounds realistic. But here's the harsh reality. Almost every excuse has a counterexample. Someone busier than you makes time to read. Someone more tired than you still goes to the gym. Someone with less knowledge than you still started their business. The difference isn't in circumstances. It's in choices. Excuses and the brain. Excuses aren't random. They come from how your brain is wired. The human brain seeks comfort, predictability, and energy conservation. When you think about doing something hard, your brain raises alarms. This might hurt. This might fail. This might drain energy. Better not risk it. So your mind produces an excuse, a safety mechanism. In evolutionary terms, excuses once protected us from wasting energy or taking risks. But in today's world, excuses don't protect us, they paralyze us. The cost of excuses. Here's the part most people ignore. Excuses don't just delay action. They destroy momentum, self-confidence, and trust in yourself. Every time you make an excuse, you reinforce the belief that you can't handle discomfort. Every time you avoid action, you prove to yourself that fear is stronger than discipline. Over time, excuses don't just rob you of opportunities, they rob you of identity. You become someone who settles instead of someone who acts. The discipline mindset, zero tolerance for excuses. If you want real discipline, you must develop a mindset of zero tolerance for excuses. That doesn't mean you never feel tired, afraid, or unprepared. It means you stop letting those feelings control you. You must learn to catch an excuse the moment it enters your mind, call it what it is, a lie, and choose action anyway. Remember this, excuses will never leave. They'll always show up. Your job isn't to eliminate them, it's to overpower them. Strategies to destroy excuses. Let's break down practical methods to crush excuses before they control you. 1. Call out the excuse. The first step is awareness. Don't let excuses hide in the shadows. Say them out loud or write them down. I'm saying I don't have time. I'm saying I'm too tired. I'm saying I don't know how. When you name an excuse, you weaken its power. You strip away its disguise and see it for what it is. 2. Replace I can't with how can I? Instead of saying, I don't have time, ask, how can I make time? Instead of, I'm too tired, ask, what can I do even with low energy? Instead of, I don't know how, ask, how can I learn? Excuses shut doors. Questions open them. 3. Shrink the task. Often excuses come because the task feels overwhelming. The solution: make it smaller. Don't commit to a full workout, just commit to putting on your shoes. Don't commit to writing a book, commit to writing 1 page. Momentum builds when you start small. 4. Set non-negotiables. Excuses thrive when your commitments are flexible. So create rules that are non-negotiable. For example, I never miss 2 workouts in a row. I always save 10% of my income. I read at least 10 minutes every day. When something is non-negotiable, excuses lose their power. 5. Use the 5-minute rule. Tell yourself you only need to do the task for 5 minutes. Most of the time, once you start, momentum carries you further. The hardest part is beginning. 6. Build accountability. Excuses are easy to tell yourself, but harder to tell someone else. Share your commitments with a partner, mentor, or group. The fear of embarrassment often crushes excuses. 7. Use your why. Excuses are weak against strong purpose. When you connect your action to something meaningful, your health, your family, your future, you'll find it harder to justify skipping it. Common excuses. Crushed. Let's dismantle a few of the most common excuses right here. I don't have time. Everyone has 24 hours. The issue isn't time, it's priorities. If something matters, you make time. I'm too tired. Action creates energy. Often you're tired because you haven't moved. Start, and energy follows. I don't know how. Nobody starts as an expert. Learning is part of the journey. I'm not motivated. Motivation follows action, not the other way around. Start moving, and motivation will come. I'll start tomorrow. Tomorrow is a liar. If it matters, it starts today. Excuses versus reality. Here's the brutal truth. The people who achieve greatness don't have fewer excuses. They simply don't listen to them. Excuses will always exist. The question is, do you let them dictate your life, or do you act anyway? Every excuse you destroy is a brick removed from the wall between you and your goals. Every excuse you overcome builds your self-trust, your identity, and your discipline. Closing thoughts for Chapter 6. Excuses are the enemy of discipline. They are small, harmless-looking lies that grow into massive barriers if left unchecked. But you have the power to destroy them. By recognizing excuses, questioning them, shrinking tasks, creating non-negotiables, and reconnecting to your deeper why, you can silence the voice of weakness and choose the path of discipline. Remember, discipline isn't about waiting for the perfect conditions. It's about acting despite the excuses, despite the feelings, and despite the obstacles. Excuses will whisper. They'll try to seduce you. But you can decide, right here and right now, that their voice will no longer control your life. Because the difference between people who dream and people who achieve is simple. Achievers destroy excuses. Chapter 7. The Role of Routines and Rituals in Discipline. Discipline thrives on consistency, and consistency is nearly impossible without structure. That structure comes from routines and rituals. Think about it. Every successful athlete, entrepreneur, writer, or leader has a system of daily actions that guide their behavior. These aren't random choices. They are carefully built patterns designed to conserve willpower, increase focus, and keep progress automatic. In this chapter, we'll explore why routines and rituals are so powerful, how they strengthen discipline, and how you can design your own to create unstoppable momentum in life. Why routines matter. The truth is simple. Discipline doesn't come from doing the hard thing once, it comes from doing it over and over until it becomes part of who you are. But here's the problem. If you rely on willpower every single time, you'll eventually run out of energy. That's where routines come in. A routine is a sequence of actions you follow regularly. By repeating the same actions at the same times, you reduce decision fatigue and free your mind for bigger challenges. Think about brushing your teeth. You don't need motivation to do it. You don't debate whether you should or shouldn't. It's automatic. Imagine if your workout, Your reading, your planning, your studying became as automatic as brushing your teeth. That's the power of routine. The psychology of rituals. Rituals are similar to routines, but they add meaning. A ritual transforms a simple action into something symbolic and powerful. For example, a writer lighting a candle before starting work, an athlete lacing their shoes in a specific way before practice, or a leader journaling in the morning before facing the day. These aren't just habits, they are signals to the brain, it's time to perform. Rituals create mental anchors. They prepare your mind to enter a focused state. Over time, the action and the mindset become inseparable. Routines, rituals, and discipline. Here's the key connection. Discipline isn't about fighting temptation all day long. It's about designing a life where discipline flows naturally. Routines reduce decisions. Rituals increase focus. Together, they make discipline sustainable. Without routines, your day is chaotic. Without rituals, your actions feel empty. With both, you create a rhythm of progress. The morning routine, owning the day. Many disciplined people start with one thing in common, a structured morning routine. Why? Because the way you start your day sets the tone for everything that follows. A morning routine doesn't need to be complicated. It could include movement, stretching, walking, or exercise to wake up your body. Mindset, journaling, affirmations, or reading something positive. Planning, reviewing your goals or setting your top 3 priorities. By stacking these actions, you begin each day with clarity and control. You're no longer reacting to the world, you're leading yourself. Evening routines, closing strong. Just as mornings set the tone, evenings set the foundation for tomorrow. A disciplined evening routine might include reflecting on the day, what went well, what can improve. Preparing for the next day, laying out clothes, planning tasks, clearing your workspace. Unplugging from distractions, reducing screen time and winding down. This isn't about being rigid, it's about creating a sense of closure. When your evenings end with purpose, your mornings begin with momentum. Micro-rituals, small triggers, big power. Not all routines have to be long. Micro-rituals, tiny symbolic actions, can have huge impact. Taking 3 deep breaths before a meeting. Writing 1 sentence before diving into a project. Drinking a glass of water before starting your workout. These small rituals act like on switches for discipline. They tell your mind, we're shifting modes now. It's time to act. The science of consistency. Neuroscience confirms that routines and rituals literally rewire the brain. Every repeated action strengthens neural pathways, making the behavior easier to perform the next time. This is why habits are so powerful. They move effort from the conscious to the automatic. At first, discipline feels like pushing a boulder uphill. But with consistent routines, the boulder gains momentum. What was once effort becomes identity. Designing your own routine. So how do you build routines and rituals that work for you? Here's a step-by-step approach. Identify what matters most. Pick 1 to 3 key habits that align with your goals. Don't try to overhaul your life overnight. Choose the time and place. Anchor the habit to a consistent cue. For example, always journaling after breakfast or always exercising right after work. Start small. Build momentum with small wins. 10 minutes of reading is better than none. 1 push-up is better than waiting for the perfect workout. Add meaning. Turn the habit into a ritual by adding a symbolic action, lighting a candle, putting on special music, or saying a mantra. Protect the routine. Treat it like a meeting with yourself. Non-negotiable. Not optional. Obstacles to routines. Of course, routines don't always run smoothly. Travel, stress, or unexpected events can break your rhythm. But here's where discipline shows its true power. A disciplined person doesn't abandon the system when it's disrupted. They adapt. If you can't do your full workout, do a shorter one. If you can't journal for 20 minutes, write for 2. The key is never letting the chain completely break. Routines build identity. Here's the real magic. Routines don't just create results, they create identity. When you stick to your morning run, you stop being someone who tries to run and start being a runner. When you write every day, you stop being someone who wants to write and start being a writer. Discipline isn't just about what you do, it's about who you become. Routines and rituals lock in that transformation. Closing thoughts for Chapter 7. Discipline without routines is fragile. It breaks when life gets messy. But discipline built on routines and rituals becomes unshakable. Your routines are the architecture of your life. Your rituals are the spirit that fills it with meaning. Together, they give you consistency, focus, and identity. So here's the challenge. Build at least one routine and one ritual that supports your highest goal. Protect it. Nurture it. Let it grow until it becomes automatic. Because in the end, success isn't built in a single moment of inspiration. It's built in the quiet repetition of disciplined routines day after day until greatness becomes inevitable. Chapter 8. Discipline and the Power of Sacrifice. Every meaningful achievement comes with a price. The truth most people avoid is simple. You cannot have everything at once. If you want to rise, you must leave something behind. If you want to build, you must be willing to give something up. That's the essence of sacrifice. Discipline and sacrifice are inseparable. You cannot be disciplined without sacrificing comfort, convenience, or temporary pleasures. And you cannot achieve greatness without paying this price. The people who win in life are not necessarily smarter, luckier, or stronger. They are the ones willing to sacrifice what most people refuse to give up. In this chapter, we'll explore the connection between discipline and sacrifice, why sacrifice is not loss but gain, and how you can use sacrifice as a powerful tool to fuel your disciplined life. Sacrifice, the forgotten ingredient of success. Modern culture often sells the idea of having it all: success without effort, rewards without struggle, shortcuts without cost. But reality doesn't work that way. Every choice you make is a trade-off. When you choose to stay in bed instead of waking up early, you sacrifice growth for comfort. When you spend money on short-term pleasure, you sacrifice long-term security. When you chase distractions, you sacrifice progress. The disciplined person understands this law of life. You are always sacrificing something. The question is, are you sacrificing the right things? The discipline-sacrifice connection. Discipline is the ability to choose what you want most over what you want now. Sacrifice is the cost of that choice. Think about a professional athlete. To stay disciplined, they sacrifice late nights, junk food, and casual living. In return, they gain health, performance, and success. Think about an entrepreneur. To stay disciplined, they sacrifice stability, free time, and comfort. In return, they gain freedom, wealth, and impact. Think about a student preparing for exams. They sacrifice parties, TV, and social media. In return, they gain knowledge, grades, and opportunity. Discipline makes sacrifice intentional. Instead of unconsciously giving up your future for the present, you consciously give up the present for your future. Why most people fear sacrifice? Most people fail at discipline because they fear sacrifice. They see it only as loss. They think, if I wake up early, I lose sleep. If I study, I lose fun. If I save money, I lose enjoyment. But here's the truth. Sacrifice isn't about loss, it's about exchange. You're trading something small for something greater. You're giving up immediate comfort for lasting fulfillment. Yes, you may feel the sting in the moment, but that temporary sting creates permanent strength. Sacrifice is freedom. It sounds like a paradox, but it's true. The more you sacrifice, the freer you become. When you sacrifice unhealthy foods, you gain the freedom of health. When you sacrifice laziness, you gain the freedom of achievement. When you sacrifice wasting money, you gain the freedom of financial security. People who refuse sacrifice often become trapped in debt, in bad health, in mediocrity. Their so-called freedom of doing whatever they want ends up costing them everything. Discipline says, give up the chains of instant gratification and gain the freedom of a disciplined life. The pain of sacrifice versus the pain of regret. There are two kinds of pain, the pain of discipline and the pain of regret. The pain of discipline comes from sacrifice. It's the soreness after a workout, the frustration of saying no to temptation, the struggle of long hours of study or work. It's temporary. The pain of regret comes from refusing sacrifice. It's the shame of wasted years, the emptiness of missed opportunities, the bitterness of knowing you could have done more. That pain is permanent. You must choose your pain. Either you sacrifice now and enjoy freedom later, or you refuse sacrifice now and pay with regret later. Practical sacrifices for a disciplined life. So what does sacrifice look like in everyday life? Let's break it down into practical examples. Sacrifice comfort for growth. Growth always happens outside your comfort zone. Wake up earlier. Push harder in your workouts. Speak up when you're afraid. Comfort is the enemy of discipline. Sacrifice distraction for focus. Social media, endless scrolling, mindless entertainment, these rob you of focus. Sacrificing these distractions gives you back the most valuable resource, time. Sacrifice pleasure for purpose. Parties, junk food, impulsive spending, these give pleasure but no long-term value. Replacing them with purpose-driven actions, learning, working, creating, builds a life of meaning. Sacrifice short-term rewards for long-term success. Save money instead of spending it. Study today instead of cramming tomorrow. Invest in skills instead of wasting hours. The sacrifice compounds into something bigger. Sacrifice approval for integrity. Sometimes discipline means sacrificing what others think of you. Saying no when everyone else says yes. Walking away from gossip or negativity. Staying true to your principles. The mindset shift. Sacrifice as an investment. To live with discipline, you must shift how you view sacrifice. Stop seeing it as loss. Start seeing it as investment. When you sacrifice time to study, you're investing in knowledge. When you sacrifice comfort to train, you're investing in strength. When you sacrifice entertainment for focus, you're investing in success. Every sacrifice is a seed planted. Over time, those seeds grow into the results you dream of. How to embrace sacrifice. So, how do you build the ability to sacrifice without feeling like you're being punished? Connect it to your vision. Don't just sacrifice for the sake of suffering. Sacrifice for something bigger. Your health, your family, your dream. Start small. You don't have to give up everything overnight. Start with small sacrifices. Skip the dessert, wake up 30 minutes earlier, spend 15 minutes less on your phone. Practice voluntary hardship. Challenge yourself to occasionally give up things you don't have to. Cold showers, fasting, unplugging from technology. This builds mental toughness. Remind yourself of the reward. Keep your focus on what you're gaining, not what you're losing. Celebrate the exchange. Each time you sacrifice wisely, acknowledge it. Feel proud. You just made a deposit in your future. Stories of sacrifice. History is full of examples of sacrifice leading to greatness. Thomas Edison sacrificed thousands of failed experiments to give the world the light bulb. Athletes like Kobe Bryant sacrificed leisure and normal teenage years for relentless training and became legends. Entrepreneurs sacrifice security, routine, and rest to build empires. Behind every story of greatness is a trail of sacrifices. The question is, Are you willing to make your own? Closing thoughts for Chapter 8. Discipline is not about having more willpower than others. It's about being willing to sacrifice what others won't. When you train your mind to see sacrifice not as loss but as investment, you unlock the real power of discipline. You begin to trade fleeting pleasures for lasting victories, temporary comfort for permanent strength. Here's the truth. Every day, you are sacrificing something. The only question is whether you're sacrificing your future for your present, or your present for your future. Chapter 9. Discipline in Relationships and Commitments. Discipline is often spoken about in terms of personal goals, fitness, money, career, habits. But one of the most overlooked areas where discipline matters most is relationships. Your commitments to other people, to your family, your partner, your friends, your colleagues. These are the real tests of discipline. Why? Because it's easy to push yourself when it's just you. But when others depend on you, when your word, your loyalty, and your consistency are on the line, that's when discipline is tested at the deepest level. In this chapter, we'll explore how discipline shapes relationships, why keeping commitments is a cornerstone of character, and how mastering this area creates trust, love, and long-lasting bonds that elevate your entire life. Discipline as the foundation of trust. Every relationship, no matter what kind, runs on one currency: trust. Without trust, no connection lasts. And how is trust built? Through discipline. Trust grows when your words match your actions. When you do what you say you'll do. When you show up on time. When you stay consistent even when it's inconvenient. Think of it this way. Every time you keep a promise, you make a deposit in the trust bank. Every time you break a promise, you make a withdrawal. Discipline ensures that your balance always stays in the positive. Discipline in family relationships. Family is often where discipline is tested the most, because it's where you can't fake consistency. Being disciplined with family means showing up when you say you will, listening fully instead of being distracted by your phone, balancing responsibilities, not leaving everything for others, sacrificing ego for the sake of harmony. For parents, discipline means creating routines and values for children. For spouses or partners, it means consistency in love and effort, not just in words. For siblings, it's showing loyalty even when it's not convenient. Discipline in family relationships is about proving, day after day, that love isn't just a feeling, it's a commitment. Discipline in friendships. True friendships aren't measured in how fun they are when things are easy, but in how reliable they are when things get hard. Discipline in friendships means reaching out even when life gets busy, keeping confidences instead of gossiping, being present when your friend is in need, not only when it's convenient. Most friendships fade not because of betrayal, but because of neglect. Discipline keeps them alive. It's the small, consistent gestures, the text to check in, the promise kept, the effort made, that keep friendships strong for decades. Discipline in romantic commitments. Relationships thrive not on grand gestures but on daily discipline. Flowers and surprises are wonderful, but they cannot replace consistency, respect, and self-control. Discipline in romantic relationships means staying faithful, not just in action, but in thought and attention. Managing your emotions instead of exploding in anger. Communicating even when it's uncomfortable. Prioritizing quality time, not just giving leftovers of your day. Love fades when discipline fades. But when discipline is strong, when both partners commit to showing up daily, choosing each other over distractions, temptations, and ego, that's when love grows deeper over time. Discipline in professional relationships. In the workplace, discipline is the difference between being seen as reliable or replaceable. Being disciplined professionally means meeting deadlines without excuses, respecting other people's time, keeping commitments to colleagues and clients, handling disagreements with respect rather than ego. When you're disciplined at work, you not only earn respect, you also open doors. Opportunities come to those who are trusted, and trust always grows from discipline. Why breaking commitments destroys character. Think about the people in your life who have disappointed you the most. Was it because they lacked talent? Or because they lacked discipline? Chances are, it was because they broke a commitment. They promised but didn't deliver. They said one thing and did another. When you fail to keep commitments, you don't just damage a relationship. You damage your own character. Your word loses weight. Your reliability erodes. Discipline protects your character. It makes your word unshakable. It turns "I'll do it" into a guarantee. The power of boundaries in relationships. Discipline in relationships isn't just about showing up for others. It's also about protecting yourself through boundaries. Saying no when something crosses your values. Refusing to tolerate disrespect or abuse. Maintaining discipline with your time and energy so you don't burn out. Boundaries require discipline because they demand consistency. It's easy to set a boundary once, it's harder to hold it every time. But the discipline of boundaries builds healthier, stronger connections where respect runs both ways. The link between self-discipline and relationship discipline. Here's the truth. You cannot have discipline in relationships if you lack discipline within yourself. If you can't control your temper, you'll damage your partner. If you can't control your time, you'll neglect your family. If you can't control your attention, you'll let distractions steal from your friendships. That's why personal discipline and relational discipline go hand in hand. The more disciplined you become in your habits, the better you become at keeping your word, managing emotions, and staying consistent with others. Practical steps to build discipline in commitments. Underpromise, overdeliver. Don't say yes to everything. Only commit to what you can actually do, then deliver more than expected. Create reminders. Use calendars, notes, or alarms to ensure you never forget commitments. Forgetting is often a lack of discipline, not memory. Be present. When you're with someone, discipline your mind to focus fully. Put the phone down. Look them in the eye. Listen. Respect time. Show discipline by being punctual. Time is one of the greatest signs of respect. Apologize quickly when you fail. Discipline isn't about perfection. It's about taking responsibility and making things right when you fall short. The ripple effect of disciplined commitments. When you're disciplined in relationships, the effect spreads. People know they can count on you. Your reputation grows. Your circle strengthens. Your family feels secure. Your friendships deepen. And most importantly, your own self-respect increases. Because when you're disciplined in commitments to others, you're really being disciplined with yourself. Closing thoughts for Chapter 9. Discipline is not just about what you achieve for yourself, it's about how you show up for others. Your family, your friends, your partner, your colleagues. These relationships define the quality of your life. When you practice discipline in relationships, you build trust that lasts decades. You create bonds that survive storms. You honor your word, and in doing so, you honor yourself. Remember this: discipline makes love last, friendships endure, and commitments unshakable. Talent can impress people for a moment, but discipline keeps people with you for a lifetime. So if you want to live a truly disciplined life, don't just focus on your goals. Focus on your relationships. Keep your word. Show up consistently. Live with integrity. That's how discipline builds not just success, but a legacy of love and respect. Chapter 10. The Discipline of Consistency. Turning effort into excellence. If there's one principle that separates the ordinary from the extraordinary, it is this: consistency. Discipline starts with a decision, but it is consistency that turns that decision into transformation. Anyone can be disciplined for a day or even a week. But the real question is, can you be disciplined for months, for years, for a lifetime? Consistency is the bridge between effort and excellence. It's the difference between temporary results and permanent success. In this final chapter, we'll explore why consistency is the ultimate form of discipline, how to develop it, and how it turns your life into a masterpiece of progress. Why consistency matters more than intensity. Think about it. Many people start strong. They sprint out of the gate with energy, passion, and excitement. They hit the gym 5 times in the first week. They read 3 books in 3 days. They dive into new habits with fire. But what happens? The fire fades. Excitement burns out. Motivation disappears. And then they quit. The truth is, success doesn't come from intensity. It comes from consistency. Working out once intensely won't make you fit. Saving a big chunk of money once won't make you wealthy. Saying, "I love you," once won't build a lasting relationship. It's the small, repeated actions, done again and again, long after the excitement has faded, that create results that last. Excellence is boring before it's beautiful. One of the greatest misconceptions about greatness is that it feels exciting every day. It doesn't. Excellence is built in the boring, repetitive, unglamorous daily grind. Champions don't just show up when it's fun. They show up every day, even when it feels dull, repetitive, or inconvenient. Consistency means you do what needs to be done, whether you feel like it or not. That's why so few people achieve greatness, because discipline in consistency requires doing the ordinary until it becomes extraordinary. The compound effect of consistency. Here's the secret: consistency compounds. Think about money. Saving a little bit every month doesn't look impressive in the beginning. But with time, compound interest turns small deposits into massive wealth. The same is true with habits. 10 minutes of reading every day becomes a library of knowledge over years. Daily workouts turn into a strong, healthy body. Regular practice makes a musician or athlete world-class. Consistency transforms little efforts into massive achievements. Without consistency, your progress resets every time you quit. With consistency, your progress multiplies every day. Consistency requires patience. Here's the hard truth: you won't see results immediately. And that's why many people give up. They want instant change. They want to see transformation in a week. But discipline means committing to the process, not the immediate reward. It means believing that the seeds you plant today will grow tomorrow, even if the soil looks empty right now. Patience is the partner of consistency. Without patience, consistency feels pointless. With patience, consistency becomes powerful. Building consistency. Practical steps. So how do you develop the discipline of consistency? 1. Start small. Don't aim to change everything at once. Pick one habit, one commitment, and do it daily. Consistency grows stronger when it starts simple. 2. Build systems, not just willpower. Relying on willpower is dangerous. It fades. Systems, routines, and reminders make consistency automatic. Remove friction. Make the good habit easier than the bad one. 3. Track your progress. What gets measured gets managed. Keep a calendar, journal, or app where you can see your streaks. Visual progress fuels momentum. 4. Forgive slips, don't quit. Consistency doesn't mean perfection. You will miss days. You will fall short. The key is not letting one bad day turn into a bad week, or a bad week into quitting altogether. Forgive yourself and get back on track immediately. 5. Tie consistency to identity. The most powerful way to stay consistent is to make it part of who you are. Don't just say, "I want to run." Say, "I am a runner." Don't say, "I want to read more." Say, "I am a reader." Discipline tied to identity makes quitting feel unnatural. The discipline of consistency in different areas of life. In health, eating well once won't matter. Eating well daily changes your body, energy, and longevity. In finances, saving money once doesn't matter. Saving and investing consistently builds wealth. In relationships, saying, "I love you," once isn't enough. Showing love consistently builds lifelong bonds. In work, one day of productivity won't get you promoted. Showing up disciplined and consistent every day makes you invaluable. Consistency is not about what you do once, it's about what you do always. Consistency versus perfection. A common mistake is confusing consistency with perfection. Consistency doesn't mean never missing a beat. It means refusing to stop altogether. Think of it like brushing your teeth. Missing once won't ruin your teeth, but neglecting it for months will. The key is returning to the routine quickly. Perfectionism destroys progress because it makes you quit when you slip. Consistency sustains progress because it reminds you, one mistake doesn't erase the journey. Why consistency is the ultimate discipline. Consistency is powerful because it turns discipline into destiny. You don't need to be the smartest, the fastest, or the most talented. If you are consistent, you will eventually surpass those who are gifted but inconsistent. Talent may give you a head start. Motivation may get you moving. But consistency will keep you in the race until you win. As the saying goes, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. I'd add, consistency beats both when neither can endure. The legacy of consistency. Here's what consistency gives you. Not just success, but legacy. People will remember you not for what you did once, but for what you did always. They'll remember the parent who always showed up, the partner who always loved, the friend who always cared, the worker who always delivered. Consistency makes you dependable. Dependability makes you trustworthy. Trustworthiness makes you unforgettable. Closing thoughts for Chapter 10. Discipline begins with decisions, but it is consistency that shapes destiny. Excellence is not one act of greatness, it is 1,000 acts of discipline repeated daily until they become who you are. So, as we close this audiobook, remember this. Discipline without consistency is wasted energy. Consistency without patience is wasted effort. But discipline, consistency, and patience together, these three, create greatness. Keep showing up. Keep putting in the work, even when no one claps, even when no one notices, even when progress feels invisible. Because one day, it will all add up. And when it does, you won't just have results, you'll have excellence. Consistency is discipline in motion. And discipline, when consistent, doesn't just build success. It builds a life worth remembering. Conclusion. Discipline, the silent architect of greatness. We've come to the end of this journey together. Over the past chapters, we've uncovered the truth about discipline, not as a punishment, not as a burden, but as the foundation of freedom, success, and a life of meaning. You've learned that discipline begins in the mind, grows stronger through habits, and matures in consistency. You've seen how it destroys excuses, fuels routines, and turns ordinary effort into extraordinary results. And most importantly, you've discovered that discipline is not something you're born with. It's something you choose, build, and live by. If there's one lesson to take away from this audiobook, it's this. Discipline is not about doing what's easy, it's about doing what's necessary. It is the daily choice to rise above comfort, to sacrifice short-term pleasure for long-term purpose, and to keep moving forward when everyone else stops. The truth is, you already have everything you need to build a disciplined life. You don't need permission. You don't need perfect conditions. You don't even need motivation. All you need is the decision to start, and the commitment to never quit. Remember this, talent fades without discipline, motivation dies without discipline, and dreams remain dreams without discipline. But with discipline, your dreams become plans, your plans become actions, and your actions become a legacy. So the choice is yours. Will you let discipline shape your life, or will you let excuses control it? Call to action. If this audiobook has lit a spark in you, don't let it fade. Take one principle you've learned and apply it today. Yes, today. Start small, start simple, but start now. Because discipline doesn't live in tomorrow. It lives in the choices you make today. And if you found value in this audiobook, I encourage you to stay connected. Subscribe, follow, and share this with someone you care about. Someone who, like you, is ready to rise higher, live stronger, and embrace the power of discipline. Your journey doesn't end here. It begins here. From this moment forward, let discipline be your compass, your anchor, and your weapon. Use it to shape your habits, strengthen your relationships, and create the life you were meant to live. Because in the end, discipline isn't just what you do, it's who you become. And who you become, through consistency and sacrifice, will echo long after today is gone. So stand tall, stay disciplined, and remember, greatness is not built in one day, it's built every day. And now, it's your turn. Thank you for listening to How to Force Yourself to Be Disciplined. If this audiobook gave you value, don't just stop here. Take action. Start applying these principles in your daily life and watch the transformation happen. And if you enjoyed this audiobook, make sure to hit the like button. It really helps more people discover this content. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell, so you never miss the next audiobook that can shape your mindset and fuel your growth. I'd also love to hear from you. Drop a comment below and share which chapter spoke to you the most, or what discipline habit you're going to start building today. Your words could inspire someone else who's listening right now. Finally, if you know a friend, family member, or colleague who needs more discipline in their life, share this audiobook with them. Together, we can create a community built on growth, discipline, and unstoppable success. Remember, discipline is not just a habit, it's a lifestyle. Stay strong, stay consistent, and I'll see you in the next audiobook.